So, welcome to episode 2 of the Mojito Movement, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Jayden. I'll let you introduce yourself in a moment, but before we do, it's customary on the podcast that we cheers and we enjoy a mojito. This is your first ever mojito, so it's a big moment. First time on the podcast, first time drinking what is going to be quite a strong drink at 11:35 in the morning.
Right.
Mine is mostly rum.
That is nice.
They're good, aren't they? I make a good mojito.
If I'm honest, I was a bit sceptical given he was adding mint, sugar, and rum.
It's
but
good.
no, it's actually really nice. I'm not even joking.
There you go. So you've lost your mojito virginity.
Yeah.
Which is what you came here for. You said beforehand, I want to lose my virginity. I said, I've got you covered. And you've done it, and it was a pleasant experience.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Happy days. So, mate, we're gonna freeball today. We're gonna chat about anything and everything.
Cool.
But firstly, why not introduce yourself to everyone who's listening? Because you're more famous than I am on Instagram. So people probably have a better chance of knowing who you are. But
yeah.
Give a little intro. Tell us all about yourself.
So I'm Jayden. I'm an online fitness coach, and I'm also a personal trainer. And I got into the industry like over a year ago now, and I basically went from college, did my level 2 gym instructor, did my level 3 PT, and then like for the past year and a bit I've just been making content every day, just in aims to help people and with their own weight loss, whatever it might be, mindset, and now it's somehow got me into the position of doing my first ever podcast, which is kind of nuts to think about it, but yeah, you know what I mean, just
Here we
a
are.
bit of a mad spin around moment, but yeah.
Love it. Well, we met at IFS in September, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
It's gone fucking quick. It feels like it was about 10 minutes ago, but it was really quick.
Yeah.
And we were in one of the chats with James Smith, one of the business chats, and he referenced that he'd sent you some stuff to film in to help with your content, and I thought, how do I get James Smith to send me some stuff? And I was like, right, I'm gonna have to fucking collar this guy, and then didn't get around to it. And hands up, the reason why we didn't speak too much at IFS is because between talks I was propping the bar up drinking mojitos.
That is fair.
At the free bar, but the beauty of that is lots of semi-drunken chats over mojitos. We floated the idea of doing a podcast, and here we are. So. We will dig into everything, but before we do, what's your socials so that everyone listening can go and check you out if they don't already know who you are?
So my socials is just Jayden Lee PT on everything. It's JaydenLeePT. And on that note as well, I'm kind of annoyed I didn't take advantage of the free mojitos at IFS.
Mate, you missed out on some absolutely banging mojitos. I'm normally sceptical when they've got like a mojito mix in a bottle because it's normally not amazing.
Really good.
But the mojitos at IFS were unreal.
Yeah.
The good thing is you can drink them all day, and because they're 2/3 ice, you also do hydrate yourself better than you would if you were just drinking normal alcohol. So
yeah. No, that's
nice. And it's got 2 lots of fruit in it, so it's part of your 5 a day.
That's a good.
There you go. So it's all good. It's all good. But I know obviously we were chatting before we came on air about obviously IFS and your journey, because you've done a couple before, haven't you? So or at least one before. Whereas for me it was my first time solo traveling, so it's a bit of an eye opener, and I really lent quite heavily on the mojitos to get me through. But one thing that came out from IFS for me, and I'd be interested to get your take on it, is I really learnt the fact that there's so many people within the industry that are very similar to you and I that perhaps don't get the airtime that they deserve, and that there seems to be a bit of a disjointed element with the industry at the moment, that the people that get the most traction, the most airtime, typically seem to be the people that chat the most shit. And I know for me personally, obviously my TikTok does particularly well, but my Instagram really struggles. So I'm really intrigued that obviously you've only been doing this for a fraction of the time that I have on Instagram, and your page has really taken off. So like, what's that been like? Because I'm 36 and I still want the sort of the respect and popularity of that social media can bring. Whereas obviously you're a way younger chap than me, and smashing it. So what's it been like to be a 18, 19 year old that's getting Lots of adulation on social media.
Yeah, so the experience has actually been quite insane, and I spent about 5-6 months posting content, and I think the hardest thing ever was actually getting to my first 500 followers. That was genuinely one of the most difficult experiences, because you're constantly throwing shit at the wall and nothing is sticking.
Yeah.
Like, you're putting in hours worth of effort into script and edit, like the whole lot, topic idea. You know, you're just trying to help someone, and flops. 300 views. Again.
You got as many as 300 views?
Yeah.
What's that
like? But like, honestly, man, it's one of them things where it's like a proper headbang. And I actually had one of my first ever videos go viral, and that's when I ate Domino's for 30 days straight and lost 6 kilograms in the process. Obviously, a proportion of that was water weight, food volume, all of that, because it was straight after Christmas. But it was my first sort of like introduction to what hate really was.
Yeah.
Like, just for context as well, I've dealt with a lot of hate since the age of like 14, because I used to be a professional gamer, playing Fortnite. So hate wasn't really something that I wasn't a stranger to.
Yeah.
But this sort of hate, when it comes to criticism, and I'm promoting like eating like ultra processed foods and stuff, and like that's all I'm saying, and it's like, yeah, just absolutely focus on calories and fuck your health sort of thing, which is like the complete opposite of what I'm about. So off of that, I got like sort of like 900 follows. That put me up to 1.1k, and it was kind of mad. Like, you see all of these notifications just got like going wild. But it was difficult. Like, you can even go back to some of the comments now, and some of the things that people say is quite vile. Like, I've had people like tell me like kill myself.
Yeah,
like,
social media is fucking weird like that, because things that you would never dream of saying to somebody in person become completely acceptable, particularly if it's somebody who has got a private page with no profile photo, and there's no way of you or I knowing who it is that's saying it. People feel that they're empowered, and I think social media is great because it gives people a voice. The
100%.
problem is there's a lot of people out there that, because they're given the ability to have a voice, feel that they should use it all the fucking time to say things that nobody asked or you know, wanted them to say. And I completely get that. It's obviously I'm doing pretty well on TikTok with followers and stuff, and it's the same. I'll post content that's evidence-based, and yes, I say cunt a lot, and yes, I'm a little bit close to the mark at times, and I will call people out for their bullshit, and I appreciate that when you put shit out, you're probably going to get some back. The funny thing is when you ruffle certain feathers within certain communities, people don't debate the point that's upset them, they debate the individual that said it. And it can be fucking hard to deal with. Obviously, I'm 36, so I don't really give it that much of a shit about what people say. I appreciate that I'm not going to get any taller. I'm probably going to start losing more of my hair. Like, I'm going to start going grey. Like, it's a downward trajectory for me from now on. Like, I'm edging towards 40. So there's not much that people can say that I'm going to be like, oh, that's really hurtful. Whereas obviously for yourself, you know, as a younger person on social media, putting yourself out there, trying to provide good quality content, trying to provide a service to people, trying to make the fitness space a safer place by dispelling myths. It must be difficult when you start getting people put in very personal comments in response to content that you've put out, where they've probably misinterpreted the point of the content itself, but also when there's no need for it to be a personal attack. Like, how do you personally deal with that?
So yeah, when I first did that Domino's challenge, it really struck me. Like, you know, again, I'm pretty good at like just being able to ignore the hate and stuff.
Yeah.
But like when it accumulates, it does really end up getting to you. And then there's a bloke called Sean Casey. I've learned a lot from him regarding like sort of social media and managing the hate. And then I've also learned from a mental performance coach as well. His name's called Kieran O'Neill. The thing that really struck for me is like, well, first of all, like look at the criticism or feedback or actual hate logically. Like, first of all, do they have a point, and are they attacking the information of that video? And if they are, like, is it evidence-based, or is it something that they've heard online and now they hold that belief like sort of religiously? Or are they attacking the person? If they're attacking you as a person, they're critiquing your age or experience, whatever it might be, it's typically like a reflection of themselves. And then you can, like, just taking that different lens and just seeing it, it's a reflection of them, gives you a bit more of like a compassionate like approach.
Yeah.
There's this one guy on Facebook, he's commented on my posts for like the last year, constantly critiquing my age, calling me a bunch of names. His name, I think it's, I'm not going to say his name, but like
say his name.
His name's Richard something, and this Richard guy, like, he has been hating, and I was just like, mate, you all good? Like, you know what I mean? You all good? Like, this is like, and I just called him out, and he hasn't replied since. like a bunch of people like that comment as well. It's just made like, you know what I mean? It's just a reflection of you.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think when people take some form of offence from content that you put out, and rather than highlighting the points that you made that they didn't agree with, attack you as an individual for posting it, I think that is a great reflection of them as an individual.
Yeah.
Their own insecurities, their own problems. The way I tend to deal with hate, and I do get, not loads, but I do get it. I've had 2 or 3 people who have been pretty religiously commenting on most of my content. They've both gone a bit quiet. I've been a bit worried. I didn't know if I'm supposed to like reach out and check if they're still there, or if they found somebody else to torment. But the way I view it is, I view negative comments, particularly if it's about personal comments, I view it as transactional, because algorithms, particularly because of TikTok, the algorithm is a lot more simplistic than an Instagram algorithm. So it just looks at, is this post getting lots of engagement? If it is, it shows it to more people that are likely to like it. So if somebody's willing to spend 2 hours of their day chatting shit in the comments, well, luckily for them, I'm an online PT, I work from home, I've got plenty of time to sit and respond to comments, so I will milk idiots for as much as I can get out of them, because A, their comments mean absolutely fuck all to me, but B, the algorithm doesn't look at it and go, oh, we won't show this like video to somebody because it's got loads of negative comments. They go, cool, that video's had 300 comments in a few hours, we'll keep showing it to more people. So I view it very much as a transactional thing. When I'm getting negative comments from people, I'll respond. I try and be sort of relatively polite to the initial comment if it's a constructive but negative comment. If they're just being a dick, I'll be a dick back, and I'll milk it for everything it's worth, because I've had videos that have gone pretty viral, started to die down, and then some idiot starts chatting shit in the comments, and I go and have a back and forth, and 2 hours later it's had 20,000 more views, and I'm like, well, that was worth it. That was worth my time. Like, I get a tangible benefit off of my videos doing better. These people get absolutely shit all from it. So I'm like, if you've got time to waste, I'll waste your time quite happily. But I also appreciate that I'm probably a unique thinker in that respect, because when you are getting comments that are quite personal, and I get it all the time. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm in the fitness industry. I'm by no means the biggest. I've never done gear for a start, so I'm not going to be one of these people that's got fucking traps coming out their earlobes. But a lot of people who are keyboard warriors, who throw the first punch and make all these rather sort of personal comments, they're doing it out of insecurity, and again, what they tend to look for validation from the people they get their content from is typically their aesthetics. Rather than looking at the quality of the information, they look at the condition of the person posting it. And I think for me that's always been a bit of a difficulty to navigate when it comes to social media, not in terms of my confidence to put content out there, but just the way that people attribute worth to the content you post is follower count and your aesthetics carry way more weight on social media than the quality and the factual accuracy of the content you post. And I find that's a really fucking weird scenario to be in, that we've got the greatest access to information, but people would sooner listen to somebody who's quite clearly chatting shit, and a quick Google search will help you find countless studies that proves they're chatting shit, but because they're shredded, they've done 10 years of gear and they've got 60,000 followers, people go, oh, it's got to be telling the truth. And it's like, well, use your thumbs instead of pouring hate. Use those same thumbs to do a little Google. Jump on PubMed, spend 10 minutes, and you'll probably find really quickly that they're chatting shit. But it's a weird space. But the big part of why I wanted to do this podcast is the amount of people I met at IFS that are on the same page, that are evidence based, that want to just help the everyday person get in better shape without falling into the pitfalls, the traps, the trends, the fads that do more harm than good. It blew my mind away, because you do get a little bit stuck in that social media world where the people that are making the most amount of impact are normally the ones, as I said before, sharing the worst quality information. And you almost feel like you must be the only person that's sharing evidence-based content, and that's why it's not gaining traction. But actually there's a massive community of us, and I think starting this podcast was an opportunity to get people like yourself on here who are making waves on social media, are doing far better than I am on Instagram, and building a following by posting good quality information. It's a chance to showcase that and try and put the world to rights whilst getting a little drunk in the process.
No, I completely agree, and I think it all depends on the way you package your information, because again, like every platform wants you to go viral, but it depends on how good is the quality of that content. So like I see it as my responsibility to make the best possible content so that it gets displayed to the right sort of people, and then I can like express the message of like, take what you see on social media with a grain of salt. Like just because someone has X, like, you know what I mean? You'll see some of the most leanest people and they probably have really disordered eating habits, excessive amounts of cardio. Like that was especially me, like when I was doing my boxing and stuff, like, and I was posting on Twitter like a year and a half ago, like, oh yeah, look what I'm doing. And then it's like having 1 meal a day, doing like 3 workouts, like going for a 5-mile run, doing a deadlift session in the morning, and then going boxing for 2 hours. Oh, but I looked mint. So yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's all a bit silly, but like there's definitely like an influx of creators from what I've seen where people are taking a more scientific based approach, and their content quality is actually getting much better. So it's really nice to see. I just think when someone is so polarizing and what they say with such confidence, and it's like, this is the way, if you do this you get X, it's so easy, and that naturally is so attractive. However, like talking about nuance when you're perhaps not like an authoritative figure just yet, it's quite hard to get that message across, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And again, I think it's born out of that basic human trait in terms of we want everything yesterday. We want everything as quickly and as easily as possible, whether that's from a fat loss perspective. The reason why people tend to go for fad diets and they try these shit approaches is because they're promised significant weight loss in next to no time, and they go, oh, I'll do that because that's easy, I can get shredded in 2 weeks, without realising it's going to be shit. And I think it's similar from a social media perspective. There's a lot of people that have realised that if you share very polarising content that's factually very inaccurate, but you say it with enough gravitas, you're going to get a lot of people arguing in the comments, which is going to elevate your stature and generate loads and loads of followers and lots of engagement, and it's an easy way to grow. So I think some people, rather than remaining true to their ethics and their morals, will sell their soul to the algorithm just because they're like, yeah, if I get 100,000 followers overnight, people are going to think that I'm worth my shit. If I have to lie to get there, some people are happy to do it. I would rather not. I'd rather grow really slowly, as it is clearly fucking transpiring on Instagram. But build a following of people that actually appreciate the information that I put out, and know that actually anytime anyone follows me and trust what I say, that I can hand on heart say that what I'm saying is factually accurate. And equally, if I say something that is later then proven to be inaccurate, I will go back, I'll revisit it, and I'll update, and I will change my opinion based on the evidence that's provided, rather than trying to change the facts to meet an opinion from that perspective. And I think it's definitely something I've seen from your content that's echoed, and I think it's really important. I did a poll on my Instagram the other day of who should I get on the podcast, and somebody said I should get Eddie Abil on it, and I was like, no, we only get evidence-based creators on here. As great as it would be, he wouldn't ever come on. He's way too big time now. But I wouldn't ever bring anybody on that I don't agree with what they're saying, because the purpose of the podcast is to get good quality information. It's not for me to have a heated debate with someone who's a fucking twat.
There was a few months ago where I had a conversation with a guy called Sam Bohon. I think that's how you say his second name, like Sam VPT. Anyways, and I had a conversation with him because I'm quite young and I'm in a bit of a rush. And when you're like surrounded by so many people like that are absolutely killing it, like places this expectation or this like ideal reality of where you want to be, and then you're constantly reminded of this reality where you're not just there yet, and then this gap is like just causing sort of anguish on a day-to-day basis. And I was talking to him like, mate, how do you develop the skill of patience? Like, I just want to get there right now, like wherever it is, related to home life, business. And he said something like that really impacted me. It's like, what do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for the guy that just goes viral, or do you want to be known for someone that actually has impact and that can help change people's lives, even if it takes slightly longer? And just getting reminded of that lesson is so important, because the thought of compromising on my values, ethics and morals just to get more followers, which does absolutely zilch to my life. It's like, I don't see the point. And if you look at anyone with sort of any sort of longevity within the industry, I think Jordan Syatt is one, James Smith is another. These guys are like true to their morals, their ethics, and they've stayed in the industry the longest. Whereas like you see people like Liver King or all of these other guys that they blow up, like their rate of growth is so much faster than these other people. Where are they now? Sure, they might be living the life, but like I personally couldn't live with the idea of that I could have potentially damaged other people. That to me, the way I've been raised, not okay. not okay.
Yeah,
I'm not
and
to do that.
I think that's really important. And again, it echoes the way that we would work with our clients as well. And I'm sure you're the same on this perspective, that it's not about getting the quickest progress. It's not about taking you from where you are today to being the finished article in the next 20 to 30 days. It's about laying the foundation so that in 5-6 years time you're still doing the same things that got you the results in a way that you enjoy, that's part of your lifestyle. And that's, that's my ethos and how I work with people. And I think it's important to hold those ethics, those morals across the board, because again, like you said, it's so easy with social media. I could start posting topless videos with meat and eggs on a chopping board, telling people that if you do that you're going to get absolutely shredded, while spending my morning routine injecting myself in the arse with a concoction of steroids. But the reality is that's not who I am. That's not why I got into the industry. It's not why I do what I do. And I don't want to become a glorified politician where I enter an industry with the intention of bringing about positive change and then just become conditioned and end up sounding like all the other cunts. Like, for me, there's an inherent flaw with our industry that you can say whatever the fuck you want and people are taking that to the nth degree and taking the piss with it. I feel like my place in the industry is to be that voice of reason and be like, yeah, maybe that's not quite as all like cracked up as it's supposed to be. And like I said, I've seen a lot of that reflected with what you post and how you come across from that perspective. What I'd like to know is, what was your driver yourself for getting into the industry? Because I know from my perspective it's something I always wanted to do and felt like it was impossible, because I was foraging down the path of one career that was almost paying me too well to leave. But obviously from your perspective, you've got in at the time where in hindsight I wish I had have done. What was your driver? What got you into the industry in the first place?
It's a good question. I guess from like a kid, the thought, like, it was always like this floating thought, like PTs were earning like sick money. So like that's just one floating thought. But like I want to be a police officer. All of this mad stuff has like some sort every kid goes through. But when I was in secondary school, year 11, like a few years back, like I really loved PE, like GCSE PE, like when it comes to like the muscles, the way the body moves, all of this stuff really fascinated me, and it got me thinking like what I could do with that. It was like a level 3 PT, and what did I have to do to get a level 3 PT? Level 2 gym instructor. So I went to college for a year, did the level 2 gym instructor, level 3 PT. But I really struggled in the sense of like my own knowledge. My own knowledge was not the best in many facets now that I look back. But I think one of the biggest driving forces, why I'm probably still in this sort of like coaching business now, is because I went through a breakup. So I went through a breakup last year, and that really changed me. Like I know I'm young and stuff, but like it really changed me. Like my relationship with food went out the window. I'd start like, I look back, I kind of was starving myself, but I didn't see it as starving myself. It was an excuse for fasting. You know, like I labelled food as bad, like the guilt I would get. You know, then for some reason I really struggled. Like whenever I felt bad about sort of the breakup and stuff, it's like, why can't I stop eating? Like I know I'm literally, there was this one time where I'm eating a bowl of fruit and fibre, and it's like I'm eating another bowl, and I know this is going to make me feel worse, but why can't I stop? And it's like a combination of like such restrictive eating, like we're trying to diet down for boxing, whilst also like constantly whipping myself on the back for like comfort eating, because of like I didn't know how to manage my emotions with the breakup. And it's like this like combination of things, and it's like I see this everywhere, like people labeling food as bad, constantly like feeling guilty for overeating. You got like sporadic binge episodes and stuff, like because of the over restriction, and it's just like this mess. And it's like I've just been through that myself, like with such an emphasis on the scale weight, like being a kilogram up, and you're like, oh my god, like what? Like, and you like, and then there was this one time as well, like this is how poor my knowledge was about, like I'd actually videoed myself after I've eaten, and then it's like I looked bigger than what I was, but I didn't know that was food in my stomach. I thought that was fat. Like I know that's such an obvious thing, but it's like that sort of information. And ever since, that's been my driving force, you know, like from someone that was like lacking purpose, felt lonely, had no community. Like last year was really rough for myself, especially in the beginning of that. And it's really motivated me to just stay in this industry now. Like that is kind of my why. Because again, like you look on TikTok, mate, I remember it so clearly again. You had this guy with a back photo, and it was like this, clearly on roids now that I look back. And it's like, I wanted to look like that. And I was expecting to get it in 4 weeks. And then I'd constantly be disappointed at myself. I'd literally hate myself, like, because why don't I look like that? Putting all this work, all this effort, and it's like comparing like 10 years worth of work to like a few months. So that's really been the driving force why I got into the industry, to really just clear up some of the mess and the problems that sort of everyday people face, because the knowledge simply is not there.
Yeah.
And it's not exactly taught to you in schools. It's like, oh yeah, 5 fruit and veg.
Yeah, mate,
back on.
Completely agree, and it's very similar from my perspective. I always wanted to get into the industry, always wanted to become a coach. Always felt like it was going to be impossible because I was earning very good money doing a job that I absolutely hated. But initially, when it was about getting into the industry, for me, I was just about to start competition prep to do men's physique show, competing completely naturally. There was a lot of pressure externally to use performance enhancing drugs because everybody else is, and if I've never been the biggest guy, so I was always encouraged, if you want to hold your own on stage, you probably need to. And I was like, no, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to see what I can physically achieve myself naturally. I mean, in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm going to compete. Once I've competed, I'm going to do my qualifications. I'm going to help other people compete, because I'd been led to believe that the fittest and healthiest people were the people that stepped on stage. And you look at these people with amazing physiques and you go, yeah, that's how I want to look, and that's how I want to help other people, because that is the pinnacle of health. And as I started doing my qualifications, and you start to get taught certain things and you start to research certain things, and you go, hold on a minute, a lot of this qualification is outdated. And that's clearly a reflection of why a lot of the PTs that I'd worked with over the years had told me some questionable things in terms of what type of carbs I can and can't eat, and what time of day I can and can't eat, and how much cardio I need to be doing. And you go, okay, well, maybe there's a reason why the information that's given isn't all that great, and it's because what you're told in qualifications isn't all that accurate anymore. And I started to really sort of deep dive whilst doing my qualifications into the industry in general, and just the lack of quality of information. And it became quite apparent really quickly that my goal was now no longer to help people step on stage. My goal was to help people become fitter, happier, healthier in a way they can actually stick to and enjoy, because the elements of enjoyment and longevity are two of the most overlooked commodities when it comes to getting in shape. Everything is about as much and as fast as possible. And the sacrifice that you get there is, if it's as fast as possible and as much as possible, you won't enjoy it and you won't stick to it. And very few people come to me and say, I really want to lose fat because I enjoyed the process of gaining it in the first place. I want to gain it all again. Because if that was your thought process, you'd just carry on gaining it. You wouldn't want to put yourself through the stress of trying to lose it to regain it. You'd just keep fucking going. So people are coming to us for help because they want long-term change, and the industry keeps giving them short-term fixes. And it's I learned very, very quickly through my own experiences of having PTs recommend I do Herbalife or Isogenics or or equally suggesting I cut out carbs and that kind of stuff. And you sit there and you go, well, if this is the information that's being given out, is there any wonder that people fucking struggle? And I kind of took it upon myself a little bit. I was inspired by people like James Smith, Ben Carpenter, who were putting out really good information that was evidence-based. I was like, I want to do what they do. I want to create some content that people can resonate with, that's just going to make them feel like it's easier to get to their goal than it is currently. And I think it's going all right. It's going all right, but again, it's that constant battle, because as much as people want good quality information, and I think people are sick of the fad diets and the failed approaches, people still ultimately, when it comes down to it, have warped expectations of how much weight or how much body fat you should be able to lose in a week, a month, 6 months, and they also want everything yesterday. So there's still that constant battle of trying to help people to realise that you can make great progress and enjoy your life, but it might not be as quick as you've been led to believe. But again, I think it's great from your perspective that you got into the industry like straight away, right? Because I think there's so many people that have a desire to help, but then end up not being able to, perhaps because they fall into career paths that don't permit for it. Like for me, it was, if you speak to my missus, she'll tell you that she was not a fan of my idea to give my notice in and walk away from a 6-figure salary to go self-employed on I wouldn't say on a whim. I'd been coaching for about a year alongside my full-time job, but I definitely wasn't in a position where I could replace my salary. And also it perfectly coincided with my first year of business was the first year of lockdown. So but, yeah, picked my moments. But so if you speak to her, she'll be like, "He was a twat. He should never have done it."
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't get into the industry at all. So I think the fact that you've got into it when you have is incredible. What, in your opinion, as somebody who's had their own personal battles, what do you feel like is the biggest lesson that you've learned that you now try to help each of your clients with? And just to give you a bit of context in terms of what I mean, for me, the biggest thing I learned when I was doing competition prep is the importance of a good relationship with food. Competition prep fucked my relationship with food. It was clearly disordered eating, and I did not manage that well at all. The stress if I missed a meal, I was a fucking arsehole to be around 90% of the time. And then checking in every single week, thinking I look great, and getting told a list of things that were shit by my coach, completely fucked how I view myself. And I still struggle with, effectively body dysmorphia now. So every time I work with clients, for me, it's about trying to keep them as far away from that type of behaviour as possible, and helping people to do the stuff that I now struggle with, which is eat what you enjoy, have a mojito at 11 in the morning, and not lose your shit about it because you're like, fuck, it's calories, and what have you. So for me, my own experiences of having my own relationship with myself, my progress, and my relationship with food completely fucked has been a driving force to take that I've learned the hard way and ensure that my clients don't go down that route. What would you say for you is the biggest lesson that you've learned from your own journey that you now try and help your clients with?
I'm not saying this just because you've said it, but I honestly think the same thing as yourself. Like, relationship with foods and moving away from very binary thinking, like on, off, black, white, whereas like viewing things as a spectrum. So there was a time last year when I went to the Hollywood Vampires with my mother. And during this time I was boxing and stuff. It was like summer, and I remember just constantly staring at myself in the mirror, like, just I'm not lean enough, and like, because the lighting was bad, but I didn't understand how lighting influenced the way I looked, and like, because my knowledge just wasn't there. But like, I'd go down to the inclusive breakfast at the Premier Inn and I just couldn't stop eating. I literally just couldn't stop eating, and then it's like I look back and it's like my relationship with food was like, I was like, oh my god, I can't run, I can't run, Mum, like, I'm so agitated, like, I'm I'm going to get fat overnight. And when you're in that mindset, it's so stressful and so unhealthy, because a lot of people like to focus on the physical side, like just weight, the way you look and stuff. But like, there's, I believe, 7 different facets of health, like proven by science as well. One of them is mental. If your diet is constantly causing you stress or anxiety, I don't care what you say, it's unhealthy. Like, I don't care if you're like a 13% body fat, you look mint, whatever it might be, like, if it's causing you that much stress and anxiety, like it was me, like I had to do 5-mile runs a day just to keep my weight down, not healthy. So, because once you're able to move away from this sort of like dichotomous thinking of like on, off, and you can start seeing things as a spectrum and like looking at different, and you're able to identify different priorities at different times and adjust your actions accordingly, it gives you such a mental break, and your adherence and enjoyment and sustainability of a fat loss phase, or wherever it might be, or just general life, is so much better. Like, for example, a couple of days ago I went to Rome, and with the attitude of if I had last year, that would have been hell for me. But this time I understand that my priority then was to make memories and experiences and enjoy my time. Like, for example, anchovies on pizza. It was nice, very, very fishy, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, but the thought of like actually having something that's probably a bit more calorie dense, that's okay. So of course it's not like the most healthiest or nutritious food on the planet, but that's not what I'm there for, do you know what I mean? And like, just seeing things on a spectrum where like you'll be perhaps more regimented with your nutrition, eating like a regular meal structure, and then other times where you'll sort of leave off, like Christmas coming up, you might have 2 mince pies with a bit of whipped cream and a drink. You know what, that's okay. If you do that year round, not ideal, let's be honest. But like come January, you'll probably just reel it back in. And just having this sort of psychological flexibility with your nutrition, and just stop putting so much pressure and expectations on yourself. You will find life so much more enjoyable, so much easier, and that is genuine. Like with all of my clients now, like I say, the first thing is like whenever they come on a call with me, the end goal of coaching is that you don't need me. I want to help you cultivate the ability to think for yourself, understand. Like I always try help my best to like get my clients to critically think about situations for themselves. Like, right, do I need this chocolate bar? It's just a random day, you know what I mean? Probably not. But like, if it's Christmas and it helps contribute to that experience where it's like a mince pie, you got a family night with the kids and stuff, you know, there's a drink and it's like fireplace on, the dogs, and it's just like, cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? That adds and enhances the experience. So I really think just seeing things on like a continuum, just being a bit more flexible and just like alleviating pressure. So to answer that question, like relationship with food, exercise, all massive. Like, I genuinely think that's one of the most important things you can do, because a derivative off of that would be like you get to make more memories and experiences, which contributes to your well-being. 100%. So I really, really like, now that I think about it, that is like got to be one of the most important things you can do for your overall well-being, because again, not just the physical side, the mental side, and obviously you've got the other 5 different pillars of health too, like environmental and stuff, but like it's not just physical, you know what I mean? Yeah, I love that. And again, I think it's really important to recognise, so one of the things I always say to my clients, if they've got birthdays or holidays or Christmas is around the corner, bearing in mind this might not go out till January, so Christmas was around the corner. But the way I always position things to people is, if there are social situations that are coming up that you want to go and enjoy, there's 2 things we can always guarantee. Number 1, if you gain some weight as a result of enjoying that situation, you can always lose it afterwards. The other thing that we can always guarantee is that if you don't allow yourself to be fully present and enjoy it, we cannot go back and remake the memories you missed out on. So if being fully present and not worrying about what you're eating and not training and fully enjoying a moment means you make a much better memory and you have a better quality of life, then fucking do that, because once it's over, we get you back on track and we can undo the hard work. When you've got forever to achieve your results, the process can be a lot more flexible and a lot more enjoyable. If you give yourself a finite period of time, your life will have to become like shit. Yes. It's why when you look at competitive athletes and they, stage competitors, physique competitors, and they do a 12-week prep for their shows, their life's fucking miserable because they know they have to be an X amount of body fat by X date when they step on stage. Well, if you don't have a finite period of time to get to a certain body fat percentage, don't fucking live like you do. Yeah. Live like you actually enjoy your life, and not only will you enjoy it, but you'll make better progress that lasts much longer. And I think it's a commodity that gets massively overlooked. Like, I know this time of year fills so many people with dread. And so many people are like, what's the point in like thinking about my goals or getting started on my goals at this time of year, because I'm just going to undo it all. And it's like, well, you're not, because if you can establish some good behaviours throughout the month of December, even if most weeks you have social situations where you're overindulging, if you can just ensure that the times when you're not indulging, you are establishing better behaviours, you'll get to January in a better position if you just write the whole fucking month off. And I think the industry lets a lot of people down in that it creates this illusion that you're either on or off. You're either on your diet or off your diet. You either care or you don't care. And it's like, well, no, you can actually do both. You can have a much more progressive and long-term view of things and approach to things that maybe doesn't cultivate as quick a results. But if you are likely to be adhering to the same behaviours 10 years from now, and therefore maintaining the results 10 years from now, surely that's better than creating an environment where A, you don't enjoy it, and B, you don't see yourself doing it in even 2 months from now. Yeah. Because whilst those results might be better, I've always maintained with every person I've ever done a consultation call with, I would rather somebody lose 2 stone over 6 months and then in 12 months time they've continued to lose weight or maintain those results if they don't want to lose more, than lose 4 stone in 6 weeks but have gained 6 stone back 6 months from now. That's the problem with social media as well. It's like, because obviously everyone wants that desired result. Like the idea of losing 4 stone within a very short period of time is much more appealing than losing 2 stone within 6 months. And that's the problem as well. You don't see what happens after. It's like a one-way sort of like communication. Like on social media, again, like what happened to the person sort of 6 months after that photo shoot or whatever? Did they bring it back up in weight or did they maintain it? Probably, you don't know. Like, you don't know, because again,
well, not only that, when you look at the before and afters that get shared, and it's one of the reasons why I never share before and afters of my clients, and people have called me out on it before and been like, oh, you obviously don't get results because you never share them. I'm like, well, firstly, it's not my results to share. If my clients want to share their before and afters, fucking be my guest. Equally, I think a lot of the coaches who share before and afters, and I'm not saying every single coach is the same, but there's a lot of them who will slap a before and after photo up and claim it's an 8-week or a 12-week transformation, and it's potentially somebody they've worked with for 12 months.
Yeah.
Because you have no context. You've got no ability to check, is that actually a 12-week transformation? And if it is, you'll notice that they never tell you what they put them through to get there.
Yeah.
Like, they never tell you the fact that this client trained 4 days a week, lifting weights, did an hour and a half of cardio 6 days a week, hated their fucking life and ate the same meals every day.
Yeah.
And were fucking shattered, were miserable, were an absolute cunt to be around. They won't tell you that. They'll just go, look at these great before and afters, and then people go, oh, I'm going to join that program.
Yeah.
And you go, well, good luck.
Yeah.
My before and afters might be a lot less fucking exciting for people, but if you speak to the clients that I've worked with over the years and you ask them, how did you enjoy it? How did you find it? The overriding theme with everyone that I've worked with will be that it didn't feel like they were on a diet. And that's how your life should be. You shouldn't feel like you're dieting. You should just feel like you live a life you enjoy that has health-centric behaviours at the forefront. And I think, yeah, the challenge we have in this industry is that health-centric behaviours are unsexy, and weight loss-centric behaviours are glamorised to the nth degree, and it leads a lot of people into a shit situation when social situations like Christmas arise and people feel like they feel guilty for having a good time. And I'm like, if you can't enjoy, like you said, if you can't have a couple of mince pies and a hot chocolate whilst watching a film with like your kids, like, it doesn't matter how healthy your diet is from a calorie perspective, how nutrient dense it is, if you cannot enjoy yourself with your family, it's not healthy. And that was one of the biggest eye-openers for me, again, going back to my own experience with competition prep. I ate the same 5 meals a day, 7 days a week for 10 months. And there were 3 exceptions to that. I had Christmas lunch, I was allowed to eat what I wanted. The rest of the day was my normal food. There was my wife's 30th. We went to, there's a Thai restaurant in Bournemouth, and they do like, it's like Thai tapas, so you pay like 30 quid a head and they just bring food for fucking ever. And it's amazing. And we went there with a big group. Everybody was all doing the fucking taster meal. My coach picked satay chicken, steamed veg, plain rice, and I was allowed 1 Coke Zero. So I'm sat at the end of the table with my food, like tucking in, and it was still really nice, don't get me wrong, because the food there is fucking incredible. Kotai, if you're listening to this, I will welcome vouchers. The food was incredible, but I'm sat at the end of the table, not eating what I wanted to eat. Everybody's like, mate, you should try these spring rolls, you should have this, you should have that, and I'm like, no, I'll pass. I drank my Coke, I went on to tap water, and then the only other meal that I had off plan, we decided to push my show date back. I was supposed to compete at the Body Power, which was in May. My coach didn't think I was holding enough size, so wanted to delay it until the end of the year. So it would have meant by the time I stepped on stage, I'd have done 15 months, I think, of straight prep, eating the same meals every day, training religiously. Thankfully, lockdown happened and that put an end to that. But he sent me out for a burger, and I went to Miller and Carter and I had a massive fucking burger. Those were the 3 times in 10 months that I ate off plan. And that was a big thing for me, because I won't be able to go back and re-enjoy my wife's 30th birthday. I won't be able to go back and re-enjoy Christmas the year that I had all of the same 5 meals a day with the exception of lunch. Like, I won't be able to go back and that Christmas go to my parents' house on Boxing Day and enjoy all the food. Instead, I turned up with my fucking Tupperware. Like, you can't remake those memories when you miss out. And for me, it's a big factor why every person I work with, I'm like, you tell me the shit that's important to you in your life, and we are going to put that front and centre, and we're going to build behaviours around it. One of my clients, she's fucking incredible, to be honest with you. Like, she had really low mobility. She was waiting for surgery on her back. We started working with each other last year, probably, I think it was sort of September time last year. And her surgery kept getting delayed because she needed to lose weight, but she was really low mobility and really struggled. She'd done Slimming World, and her relationship with food was one of the worst that I've seen, and she won't mind me saying that. When I first took her on, I said, we're going to get you tracking your calories, and she went, yeah, good luck with that. I'm not even going to, like, I'm a technophobe, I won't even be able to use my FitnessPal, let alone worry about it. So I was like, that's fine, write it down. And if we take it from where she was when she started, someone who was afraid of technology, had no idea what she was doing, her operation had been delayed time and time again. Even like, you know, her consultants, her surgeons were getting frustrated with the fact they couldn't do the surgery. We worked at a pace that was comfortable. And she said to me from day one, I know I'm not the most active. I know my relationship with food is bad. 2 things I will not give up is cider and having a sandwich and crisps at the weekend. She said, I will do anything you tell me to, but I don't want to give that up. And she's like, I've lost a lot of my mobility because of obviously the issues with her back and obviously the weight gain. She's like, I'm not prepared to add that to the list. And I said, well, that's fine. We will optimise and we will build your programme around the things that are important. If it's having a drink at the weekend whilst being able to have, you know, a nice sandwich or beans on toast or, you know, a share bag of crisps, like, if that's important to you, we didn't take it off the table. We put it at the front and centre, and over time we got her not only tracking calories, we got her managing her calories effectively during the week. We took her from over consuming at weekends where she would eat 3,000-4,000 calories to over consuming at the weekend is now like 1,900, 2,000 calories. And the best bit about her story is the fact that she's now going through the recovery process. She had the operation on her back about a month ago.
Nice.
I spoke to her this week. She's been cleared by her surgeon to go back to training. So she's just bought a TRX so she can start doing stuff at home. Like, she didn't think she'd be able to do more than 3,000 steps a day. Now she's being told that she can start doing TRX workouts at home, and she can start to work towards going back to work, going back to the gym. And we got there by prioritising the shit that was important and saying, well, look, if your life is such that you really want to be able to enjoy a couple of bottles of cider without feeling bad, like, fucking let's do that. A lot of PTs either wouldn't have taken her on and be like, you're not committed enough if you're not prepared to give it up, or would have just taken her on and be like, yeah, say goodbye to that, eat this, eat that, and she would have hated it and she'd have failed, and it would have been another expense paid out and another failed attempt. But we've been working with each other over 12 months. She's going through rehabilitation after her surgery, and she said to me the other day she's really worried that she was going to relapse because her appetite has suddenly come back. Like, after surgery she had no appetite at all, and she's like, I'm really worried my appetite's come back, and what if I go over? And I was like, re-establish the behaviours, begin tracking your calories. If you go over, do you know what, it's not the end of the world. Even if we have a few weeks where the appetite's up and we don't do as well, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Once you're able to move more, we'll be able to control it better. And within 2 weeks she's back to managing calories more effectively, and she's like, do you know what, I did go fucking crazy for a few days and I ate loads and I didn't track it and I feel bad about it, but she's like, I'm back on track now, I'm just doing the right things. And it's not back on track in terms of on or off a diet, it's just re-establishing the behaviour patterns that give her the control to have the confidence that she can manage the situation. And I think, you know, obviously it sounds a bit like I'm blowing my own trumpet, and it's not about me being amazing, because I am. If you're listening and you're interested in coaching, I'm fucking great. But the purpose for saying that is to highlight to people that you don't have to make your life insufferable to make progress. If you've got all the time in the world, fucking use it to your advantage. Like, yeah, fine, if your doctor is telling you that you're pre-diabetic and you need to make drastic change, you might need to make your life a little uncomfortable for a couple of months, 100%. But after that, transition into a long-term approach. Do not fall into that trap where you're like, hey, I'm going to make my life fucking miserable until I quit, because all you'll do is keep losing the same few kilos time and time again.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that. This is the joys of ADHD. You get these wonderful epic rambles.
These
monologues, and then I'm like, what was the point?
There's so many things I just want to touch on in there. Like, this is a bit cheesy, but what's helped me most with, like, regarding content, and what I always say to my mum as well, because my mum used to be like over 100 kg, which I'm not sure what that is in stone, but she's lost like about 4 or 5 stone, which I think is 30 kg.
It's fucking amazing.
She's like 5'2", so like that's a fair bit of weight. But there's a bloke called Himosi, and he's like, the only way you can lose is if you quit. Like, you know what I mean? And that just expands the time horizon, and it's like takes off this pressure to be at a certain weight by a specific period of time. It's like, because, you know, it doesn't matter if you ruin your diet for like 7 days in a row. Like, if you don't quit, you don't lose.
Yeah,
and then it's
100%.
like, just expand your time horizon, because it's all about, it's never the situation that actually matters. Like, if you've gone over your calories by like 3,000, you know what I mean? There's so many different processes that will happen, like the thermic effect of food, all of these other things. Like, you might naturally increase your NEAT, that will offset the calorie expenditure, but it's your response to that. If you think you fucked everything and then you start eating even more, that's when sort of the like reversing the progress comes in. So it's all about how you respond. But with my own mum, she didn't track calories, but all she did was she carried on having her cappuccino, her shortcake and stuff, because like, you look at all of these previous other attempts like replacing meals with shakes, and sure it works, but like how sustainable is that for like 20 years down the time?
Yeah.
It's like learning how to manage your nutrition whilst including sort of the foods you love. And just to add to that as well, the fact that she's back training is sick. Like that class, you know.
I can love it. But again, mate, you're absolutely bang on in terms of the direction of travel is far more important than the speed of travel, because if you only focus on how fast you're moving, you could be going in the wrong direction and you won't give a fuck until you suddenly realise that you're miles from where you thought you were, and then you have to undo all of that work before you're even at the start point again to carry on moving forwards. Whereas even if you're moving 1 mile an hour, if it's in the right direction, so long as you don't stop, you will eventually reach your target.
Yeah.
And so many people overlook that. They get so het up on how fast they're moving rather than are they even going in the right direction. And it's like, well, is there any wonder people keep fucking failing? But yeah, I love that about your mum. I think that's fucking awesome, to be honest with you. And again, it's stories like that I think make it so much more relatable to everyday people, because again, social media is a highlight reel. You look on there, you've got, you know, no disrespect to you from this following point because of your age, but you've got typically people who are in their late teens, early 20s, all the time in the world to train, in great condition, like dedicating their life to fitness. And maybe and we touched upon it before we came on live, they fucking love fitness. Yeah. So they lack that empathy of the people who have got jobs, houses to run, families, you know, other commitments that mean they can't be in the gym, they can't meal prep all their food. They've got other expenses, so they can't literally spend a fucking fortune getting the greatest ingredients ever. Then maybe they need to rely a little bit more on convenient food and that kind of stuff. And if you're one of those people, and I struggle with this a little bit, you know, I'm 30 fucking 6. I've got a house to run. I've got 2 dogs now, and the second one he's growing real quick. But it puts you in a position where like you look at a wider situation and you go, well, yeah, I'd love to fucking get up and have the most nutritious breakfast every single day. I'd love to just have all of my meals fucking sorted and that, but do you know what, life doesn't fucking work that way. You've got commitments, you've got things going on, and if you're looking at a highlight reel of somebody who's dedicated their life to their fitness and how they look, and you can't do that, not only does it feel unachievable, you feel like you're the failure. And I think the industry needs more stories of the everyday person who's like, do you know what, only hitting 3,000 steps a day but still managing their calories effectively, still able to have a cider at the weekend, or like in your mum's situation, still able to have a cappuccino and a shortbread, but has been able to get back into training and is doing stuff she enjoys, because these are the stories that everyday people relate to, that gives them, you know, the empowerment to look at a situation and go, I could do that. I could go to the gym twice a week. I could go for a walk once a day, or even 4 times a week, for example. I could increase my activity a small amount. I could slightly better manage my calories, and that's a much more achievable thing than having to think that you've got to have 7 days worth of meals prepped out in front of you. You've got to train every single day for an hour and a half, and that you've got to hit all these milestones. You know, yes, it's great and well done to all of the individuals on social media who are fucking smashing it. Well done, and I've got a lot of time and a lot of respect for anyone who's in fucking exceptional shape. I've got a lot of friends in this industry who are fucking smashing it, who go and do high rocks competitions and look fucking incredible. That's not me. Yeah. and I know for a fact that I see them doing that stuff, and I'm switched on enough to look at it and go, that's great for them. That's not my bag, and I can kind of disassociate myself from it. But a lot of people will look at that and go, oh, I wish I could do that. And then they don't end up doing anything because they feel like, what's the point? Because they can't behave like a performance athlete, so what's the point in improving their situation by 10%?
Yeah.
Irrespective of the fact that actually if they made that 10% improvement to their own situation, it would have probably a 60-70% positive impact on their overall life quality. And I think, you know, sharing these stories and hearing about your mum and hearing about your own journey just brings that element of realism to the party, where hopefully people listening to this who have got kids and they've got jobs and they've got houses to run and they're pushed for time can listen to this and go, do you know what, actually maybe there is something I could do. And it doesn't need to be extreme. You don't need to be sat at the end of the table eating out of Tupperware while the rest of your family have a meal together. Like, you can still eat collectively and enjoy yourself with your family and make good progress if you approach it from a long-term perspective instead of looking at it as I want to get X amount of weight off in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, just to add to that as well, a lot of people discount or don't think the smallest commitment possible means a lot. It's one thing I say, like, what's the most realistic and like commitment that you can make and stick to? And one of them is like drinking a glass of water. And I used to think this, like, drinking a glass of water helps you lose fat. I'm like, what? Yeah, like, you okay? Like, do you know what I mean? But it's not about the glass of water. It's about the derivative benefits of the glass of water. Like, you feel better. You take like more actions out of line with the way you feel, eat more nutritious foods and all of that, and then it's something that you build off of, because if you add a small commitment on a week-to-week basis, which is actually manageable and realistic for you to commit to, glass of water in the morning, waking up like 20 minutes earlier or 10 minutes earlier for that sake, just to go for a little walk, like, these things add up over time. And if you do that on a consistent enough basis, like even just for a year straight, or like take off 12 weeks, so you do that for 40 weeks straight, 40 little small incremental behavior, it's wild, like the amount of progress you can make. So it's really about like forward, like this is where I feel like critically thinking and logically about your situation, and also forward thinking and just developing that skill is so important, because I love mindset. I love reframing things, because it just helps the quality of your life, in my opinion. Because if you can, like, because even myself at times, and other people, it's like you place these mad unrealistic expectations on yourself, like for example, using the High Rocks example, it's like you look at their content, they're incredible shape, wherever it might be, they're able to work out like 2-3 times a day and all of this, and it's like you look at your content, you're like, why am I not good enough, or whatever it might be. But then your friend says the same thing and be like, what are you talking about? Like, look at your situation with like your kids and stuff. But for you it's different, because it's you. Like,
it's the emotional connection, isn't it? Because we are emotionally invested in our own journey. We lose the empathy, we lose the context, because we hang the emotion on it. Again, people get emotionally invested in the number that they see on the scales. If it was their friend who was like, I've gained a pound, they're like, it's only a pound. Yeah, you step on the scales and you've gained a pound, psychologically you've gained 2 stone. Like, you catastrophize everything because there's that emotional connection to it. And I think helping people to break that down, like you said, those mindset shifts are massive. And for me, that's like, they're the wins I care about. Another reason why I don't share before and after phase is because actually some of the biggest wins I make with my clients that I care about the most are the changes to fucking mindset. The fact that 2-3 years down the line, people are still doing the same things, and the relationship with food, with themselves and their progress are still in place. Well, you can't get that in a photo. You can't take a before and after. I mean, you could like get a photo of them looking fucking miserable and a picture of them looking happy, but that's the stuff that's actually important. That's the stuff that's tangible, that leads to lasting results. Anybody can drop weight. Yeah. And I say it to people all the time. If you're only focused on making quick progress, I can give you a program, I can give you a meal plan, and I can make your life fucking miserable for 6 weeks and you'll do it. If you want to make lasting change, that's why you work with me. That's why you come and you join my academy, is because you don't want to just do something you fucking hate until you can't bear it anymore. You want to change your fucking life in a way that you can actually enjoy. And I think there's so much mileage to that and so much credit that comes from making those little adjustments. And like you said, it's 9 times out of 10, it's very small changes that are almost not even noticeable. An extra glass of water a day. Little things that are actually manageable, that just stack up over time, because it's not the extra glass of water, like you said, that causes you to drop body fat, but it's the fact that being slightly better hydrated means you sleep slightly better, so you've got a bit more energy and you're a bit happier, so you train a little bit harder, and therefore because you train a little bit harder, you drink a little bit more and you feel a bit better and you sleep a bit better, and because you're working really hard in the gym, you go, actually, do you know what, I don't want to undo this by eating like an absolute cunt. I'm going to pay a bit closer attention to the quality of my food, and everything feeds into itself. I'm a big believer that mental and physical health the two go perfectly hand in hand. If you put your time and effort into fixing one of them, the other will get dragged along by default. If you spend all of your time being more mindful, working on your mental health, I guarantee you move more, you eat better. In the same way that if you start paying more attention to how much you move and what your quality of food is like, and your hydration, your sleep, you start to feel fucking better. The way you get there isn't by trying to overhaul it overnight. The way you get there is by identifying the little areas that you might be able to tweak and adjust, spending a bit of time working on the foundations. View it like building a fucking house. dig good foundations, make a great platform to build from, and then that last little bit where it grows and it becomes the house feels like it's gone up really, really quickly. That's because you do the hard work in the background. And when I say hard work, that's not to put people off, to make you sound like it's going to be fucking miserable. It's more just a case of working on your mindset, the stuff that just takes time. There isn't a quick fix. And I think if you can dedicate yourself to just trying to be a little bit better week on week. I don't even like it when people are, just try and be a bit better each day. No, don't, because we can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. And what I mean by that is you're going to have shit days. Every person I ever speak to on a consultation call, I tell them from the outset, if you work with me, I'm not promising that it's going to be plain sailing. I'm not going to sell you a dream where it's like, yeah, it'll be perfect because you work with me. It won't be. Life's going to be shit. You're going to have a day where everything that can go wrong goes wrong, and you come home and you want to drink a bottle of wine and get a takeaway, and I'll be the first person to tell you, do it. And the reason for that is it's not about what you do in those moments where it goes to shit. It's about what you do around it. It's about how quick you get back on track. It's about how you talk to yourself, your internal dialogue, how you view your own progress, your own perception of what you're doing. Because if you can tackle everything you're doing around when it goes to shit, you'll probably handle the shit better and you'll come out the other side of it much quicker and get back on track. And that's what's important. It's not about trying to be perfect when life's being a cunt. It's about recognising that life's going to be a cunt and you're ready for it. You're ready to hunker down with your bottle of wine and your takeaway, safe in the knowledge that a day or two later you're going to feel refreshed and ready to go again, rather than adopting an approach that's so shit that the minute life gets hard and you have a bottle of wine and a takeaway, you then make yourself feel like you're the worst person in the world because you did the one thing you should be able to do as an adult, and that's react to a situation in a way that felt natural.
Yeah.
And I think, as a point to kind of round off, I think we've been going for about an hour. As a point to kind of round off on, and again, I get your thoughts on it. I think that for me is the power of what we do, and a big part of why I wanted to bring you on, because I know your ethos is the same. It's not about trying to get people to become the perfect model human where nothing ever goes bad, and if it does, you handle it like the absolute saint. It's about getting people to realise that you can react to a shit day by drinking your emotions, eating your emotions. The key thing is it's not about those moments in isolation. It's about what you do the rest of the time when things are good. That dictates it. Because if you can get into a great routine, and 90% of the time you can be doing everything in line with what you need to do, good step count, managing your food effectively, good amount of protein, good movement, good hydration, good sleep. When it goes to shit, you can fucking happily go, right, curry's on order, beers are out of the fridge, like I'm fucking seeing this day off. And even if that rumbles on for a week or two, you do it safe in the knowledge that it's very easy to bring yourself back on track. But to get to that point, it's not a quick fix. It takes a bit of time. It takes a bit of going through the mill, and again, referring back to my client from before, like she's always worried about relapsing, and I'm like, every time you thought you were going to go backwards, you didn't. And the reason for that is because you establish behaviour patterns, and it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. It might take, some people are quite good, it might take 6 weeks to establish new behaviours. Other people, it could be 12, 18, 24 weeks. It could be a year for behaviours to become ingrained and part of your routine. But if you put the time and the effort in to do that, and you accept that progress may be slightly slower in the initial onset, your life will be infinitely better for the long term.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, it's like when you go to Poundland and you buy like a £1 iPhone charger.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean, and then you end up having to buy another one and another one and another one and another one. And next thing you know, you spend like 40 quid across like the span of 2 years. Whereas there was one on Amazon for like 20 quid, which was like high quality, like it was perfect, and it's lasted you like almost 3. And seeing as sort of like coaching as that, like an investment into yourself, like, it takes slightly longer to reap the rewards, but it's more permanent. And if anything, technically speaking, it's quicker, because later down the line, you're not spending even more money, like trying to diet back down. And like, it's just, we're terrible at expanding our time horizon. We're terrible at thinking of the future, because again, like if you look at history, if we thought about the future, not our present, we'd probably be dead with that line that's charging at us. You know what I mean? Yeah, just like food for thought, but like, it is one of them things where like really thinking about the future and just understand like you might have to spend 2-3 years really working at this to get them like behaviours and habits that you practice for the last 20 or 30 years done and over with. But like from an even more longer term perspective, like 10 years down the line, you do the work now, it's like 10 years you still kept the weight off.
Yeah.
But like, because like again, people like want that instant result, as you mentioned, like people want what they wanted yesterday and stuff. It's going to take you longer. However, it feels shorter because the time horizon for now is like what, 4 months. But then another 5 years down the line, you're still doing the same 4 months of dieting again.
It's the irony of things like Slimming World, for example, and a lot of the fad diets. It's the irony of the fact that people would rather make their life kind of miserable for say 6 months and ignore the fact that they will then deal with the fallout of a fucked relationship with food for the rest of their life, then spend 12 to 18 months addressing the underlying issue so that they never have to worry about it again. And yes, I know a lot of it comes down to cost. People look at it and go, oh well, Slimmer Well, £5 a week or whatever it is. Working with a coach, might be £200 a month. But it's like, well, if you only have to work with a coach for 6 months and you're set up for life, but if you do Slimmer Well, it's £5 a week every week, and you're probably going to go there for, out of every 12 months, probably 9 months of every 12 months, you're going to be going to Slimmer Well because you keep going, you do all right, you stop, you have to go back. If you're going to do that for the rest of your life, you're going to spend a lot more than the few £100 that you would have spent, or even if it's as much as a couple of grand on a coach. If you work with a good coach, they'll get you to a point where you never have to spend money again. And I think a lot of the time where people are fall into that trap of being very short-sighted, and they go, well, actually, I'll spend the least amount now because it will help me immediately, and then I'll worry about the rest later. And I used to sell software, and the software I used to sell was very expensive, and the way we would offset it when people would raise the questions around the cost is, we'll buy cheap, buy twice. And it's the same with this the fitness side of things. If you invest in cheap quick fixes, expect to do it, well, not even twice, you expect to be doing that regularly for the rest of your life and dealing with the fallout as a result. Invest proper money and proper time and proper effort, and it might cost a little bit more up front, but the reality is that you're going to learn things that will stand you in good stead for the rest of your life, so you don't end up wasting money again. And I think that's a really good place to end it on.
Cool. It was an absolute pleasure.
Mate, it's been quality. How was your first mojito?
Absolutely unreal. I'll be having another one in the future because...
Well, you probably don't have to wait too long, because once we're off air, I'll do you another one if you want another one.
It's insane.
You're not driving, so you can so
but
I'll knock you one up. But mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been great chatting. We'll get you on again. I'm absolutely sure of it. But guys, make sure obviously you tune in for the next episode. But give it a like, a share, and all the other shit. Go and check out Jayden. Again, let him know your socials.
So it's just Jayden Lee, PT, Jayd, and LEEPT. And that's where you can find me. Instagram, mainly active on Instagram. TikTok is not my cup of tea. But yeah.
It's a chat for another day.
Yeah. But that's where you can find me. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.